Welcome, fans, once again to another live interview on the Cheap Heat Productions podcast. A very special one tonight, too. One that when I became aware of his work, it was quite an interesting exploration into what this man has accomplished. He's a 27-year veteran or more of the Indies in Michigan, but a guy that's really done basically it all in this business. He was known as the Black Undertaker, but now he is the Soultaker, as you can see there very ominously. Mr. Double N, Mike McMahon. How are you, sir?
Mike McMahon, who is that? Well, first off, I'll just say this. Mike McMahon died back in 1977. His body was in a fire due to the community at the Cantrell Funeral Home where he was working at. And you said something about Black Undertaker. The name is not the Black Undertaker. So we gotta start this all over. You gotta introduce me correctly. It is the man known as the Nigga Taker.
Very, very ominous, and I do stand corrected, but I'll refer to you for the purposes of this interview as the Soultaker, which is an extremely ominous and clearly a man that strikes fear in the hearts of his opponents. But I think we need to get into first, how did you first get involved in the pro wrestling business? And can you talk about the training that you went through? Because I imagine it was rigorous physically.
Well, all the training happened after I stopped working at the funeral home. So I went to different cemeteries for employment, and I did the same thing there. Lift caskets, lift tombstones, place bodies 6 feet under. And that made me stronger, made me more crazier than I've ever been before.
Interesting. And you found, given that line of work, it was a usual segue into professional wrestling. You found that there was a good link between doing that mortuary style work, notwithstanding the physical demands that you talked about, but you found it was a good way to get into pro wrestling.
It was a great way. See, what happened to me that fateful night at the funeral home when I was a man that was alive trying to provide for his family. I can just say this. Everybody that I run across fears the demon of fear, the Soultaker. And I think you fear me as well as you are interviewing me, correct?
Oh, you're absolutely a intimidating individual for sure. I'd have to be foolish to say that you don't strike fear in the hearts of mortal men. That's an accurate statement, correct?
You can say so, but everybody that I ran across in the ring, I took in 10 years off their career where they have never ever felt the same again after battling me. And every time I take a person's soul, a tattoo automatically appears of them on my body. And that makes me more deadlier. When they see me the next time, they see a piece of their soul inked into my body.
Wow. I guess the next logical question is given this challenge that you present in the ring. I wanted to ask you if you had any particular influences that you followed growing up in your early childhood, or what mostly influenced you to want to become involved in pro wrestling? Was it another wrestler territory or some other pop culture deal?
I could just say this: watching the Rock and Wrestling cartoon gave me an interest in pro wrestling. And when you watch the cartoon show, you realize, hey, this is all fictional. But I can just say this: once that show went off the air, wrestling came on. And I said, hey, they have cartoon characters after them. Now we're about to see the real thing. So Hulk Hogan, of course, influenced a lot of people. Great man when it comes to looking up to in the business. But me, I was never a Hulkamaniac. I enjoyed his work. I enjoyed everything he has done and contribute to the business. But I was just hooked with the art of professional wrestling. I was hooked on seeing fans boo and cheer their favorite heroes and villains. And I said, hey, I can do that. I'm talented enough to do that. So after the funeral home, I took approach to the world of professional wrestling.
Where did you first break in when you started your career? I know you're a constant fixture in the Michigan area, and I've got a one of the first questions. If you'll excuse me, we'll answer this first because there's a lot of them. Pyrus is wrestling is saying, "Hey, Soultaker, how did Rob Black contact you for XPW?" Of course, that was on the list of my questions. And how was the XPW experience?
Well, the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker, is undefeated in XPW. Who wouldn't want the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker on their show? When you go viral by using the name like the Nigga Taker, it draws people attention. Everybody wanted to have me a part of their roster once they heard about me, because I am like no other entity on this indie circuit or around the globe. I am one of the most charismatic and entertaining men that you'll ever see. You have to come to a live show to experience the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker. So once Rob Black saw what I can do, and he said, hey, the Soultaker, the Nigga Taker can fit right in with XPW.
And did you find that XPW was a rewarding experience for you in terms of? And we're going to get into some of the names that you've been in the ring with, but where would that promotion rank in terms of your overall experience?
I gotta say, XPW is up there, is quite high. I'm grateful for just about every promotion that I happen to work for. So I don't give no ratings for any type of promotion. I work for great promotions and I work for terrible promotions. Would I go back after a horrible experience? No. There's no reason for me to talk about them, long as they're paying me my money. So if I had a horrible experience, they will not see the Soultaker back. But never say never, because most promotions can change. Whatever's wrong with them, I'm sure they can fix it. And once they fix it and show me that they fix whatever problem they may have had, you never know, I will be back.
Fair enough, because the Soul Taker may be an individual that strikes fear in the hearts of men, but he also is a good businessman after so many years grinding it out there. That goes without saying. A fan is asking, Ash Perez is asking, are you waiting for the Soul Taker to go to GCW? And also, are you interested to face Cruel?
It's funny. Outcast Wrestling in Connecticut, I wrestled with them a few weeks ago, and the promoter said, hey, October, we want to do the Soul Taker versus Cruel. It's never happened yet, but I'm sure once it happens, two monsters, one ring, you gotta be there to find out what can go down. As far as GCW goes, I haven't stepped in a ring there, but I'm sure down the line you will see me there. It's just a matter of time, and it depends on the Soul Taker schedule, because there's been many of times where they came here to Michigan, but when they came to Michigan, I'm booked somewhere else. I just don't wrestle in Michigan. I wrestle all over. I am a busy demon.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess one of the questions that a lot of fans are interested in is, can you narrow down your career to a story about one of your most memorable matches, and whether it was a personal favorite or a career defining moment? I know you've had so many matches. Is it are you able to boil that down to just one, or a memory that stands out in particular?
It's so many. I'm just grateful to be in this business. I had lots of great matches, and I had lots of matches I really don't care for. So I gotta say, majority of all the matches I had throughout my career, I've been very, very satisfied with, you know, teaming up with WWE legend and former tag team champion PCO. We were the IWR tag team champions. So that was a surreal experience. Happened to battle a monster like Abyss. So it can go on and on, from Kevin Thorne to me teaming up with Savio Vega, to me choking Dan the Beast Southern. And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Abyss in particular, man, that really seems like a dream match per se. I know he's no longer active, but how did you approach that match, given the man's hardcore legacy and just the fact that he always put his body on the line and gave it his all and did some absolutely incredible things in Puerto Rico in TNA. Memories of working with him in the ring, please.
We're working with the Monster Abyss. He's a great, kind, gentleman backstage. But when it's time to go, lace them boots up, place that mask over his head. Oh, he can go. But me, I have an experience with hardcore and a few death matches as well. So that was a match of epic proportions. The Soultaker, the version of the Soultaker back then, has nothing on the Soultaker of now. I had to find myself. There were different versions of this character, or should I say, I'm not a character. There's different versions of me.
Clearly, yeah.
And this version of me is probably the most successful version of the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker.
Tremendous. Ash is asking another question about wanting you to expand on your or not issues, but your experience working with Mordecai Kevin Thorne.
Well, Kevin Thorne, the vampire, we had a casket match. And it was quite different. But that was the old version of the Soultaker. I gotta say, I enjoyed that match. And I'm sure he enjoyed it too. Because I put him in a casket and won that match.
Tremendous. And a fan on social media asked about an individual that is, another monster, and a guy that I'm familiar with from his work in Ontario and upstate New York. Just a massive individual, Congo Kong, and they wanted to know if the chemistry there between you and Congo Kong was there when the two epic monsters collided again.
Well, me and Congo Kong, we fought each other in Juggalo Championship Wrestling inside of a steel cage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we had single matches as well. But I think the one that stood out for me is probably the cage. And I gotta say, the cage, two monsters, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Even though he came out victorious, but I took him to limits where no other man has taken him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a main event anywhere in the Northeast for sure. In terms of your impact on the crowd, how they always react to you, either in fear or they're really into it and you're, a favorite. How does the crowd work into your time in the ring, and are they a factor for you, whether they fear you or cheer you, or how does that process work for you?
I'll say this. when I make my debut in different promotions, and a lot of people that never seen me live and in person, they do not know how to act. Some of them may have heard of me through social media, but once they see me in action, they can boo me, but at the end of the night, I win them over, where they say, hey, Soultaker, that was a great match. They should bring you in more often. And they tell the promoters that. And they see how interactive I am with the fans. Now, there's a promotion in Canada that I work for called NCG. I did a casket match with the NCG World Heavyweight Champion, Giant Orion.
I was going to ask about that, actually. Wow.
And that was a wild one. And that was probably one of my top casket matches I have ever done. Even though I did not have my championship that I needed from him, I still rose from the casket where the fans still had my back no matter what. But I say this, in NCG, they wanted me to come in as the heel, the bad guy, against their then champion, Stone Rockwell. But obviously, it didn't work because you had a lot of Soultaker fans that was there. Then the previous show that I wasn't even on, people was asking, hey, where's Soultaker? That's what the promoter told me. When I'm not there, people ask about me. I am considered an attraction when I'm booked on these shows. So when I'm there, I'm sure I can put asses in the seats to help out the entire roster of wrestlers that may be on that show.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you're absolutely unique in this day and age in terms of having this presence that not many do in the vanilla world of pro wrestling, where everybody seems to be a variation of the same. You're definitely unique. Matthew is asking about any memories. I was going to ask you about wrestling the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi, and Tarzan Duran.
Brooklyn Brawler had a different version of the Soultaker. Brooklyn Brawler has wrestled them all. He's wrestled all the greats throughout his illustrious career. Brooklyn Brawler has wrestled Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. He's wrestled Brian Lee, Ted DiBiase's Undertaker. And he's also wrestled me. I took him to his limit. So Brooklyn Brawler is no longer wrestling because I took some time off his career. But his career was already coming to an end. But it was an honor to take his soul. Now, as far as Tarzan Durant, I enjoyed wrestling Tarzan in XPW. We had a banger opener at XPW. He took me just a little bit to my limit. But I went up under the ring, grabbed an urn that had nothing but thumbtacks in it, and I poured it in the ring, and I choke slammed him to hell in those thumbtacks. But amazingly, he kicked out. Then I had to put him down with a jumping tombstone into those thumbtacks. Tarzan Durant, great person, great soul to take.
Wow, chilling. You you have a really significant, obviously in ring you bring a lot of athleticism and an ability to be versatile. I'm going to ask you though, how would you characterize your style? Because it's not. It seems to be a blend of a number of techniques. You're not just a brawler. You're not just a guy who's going to go off the ropes. You're not a hardcore guy per se. Um, you have so many gears, I guess is the best way to say it. How would you put that into words yourself?
I pace myself. I do not have time to play cat and mouse. The young guys, they can do all those flips and hurricanranas and 25 Canadian destroyers. You're never going to see me do that. I am a classic style performer. They can go out there and get bloated. Me, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to take my time with my victim. And once I get them in a corner in the ring, they will feel the deadliest chops that you have ever will witness.
This is a good question. We've got some really smart fans on this channel. Matthew Rodriguez is asking, Soultaker, during your wrestling career, what was the worst bump you took that you said, F? I guess he's meaning frig, that hurt.
The worst bump.
That must be hard, eh?
You can say that, but I can say, it's hard to say. I'm still standing tall. I'm still performing at 100%. The dead doesn't get hurt, but we can slow down. I can just say that.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. You really have been on the independent circuit, a man of your own. Everything that you've accomplished, you've done on your own. You've made your mark. You're, as you said, a guy who's in demand, or a dead person that's in demand for bookings. But when you're on the road so many years and navigating the independents, what would you say was your or is the most difficult demand that you navigate in the independent scene, where it's a lot different than the major companies, where a lot of things are taken care of on your behalf? How do you make that work so successfully for so many years?
Mm. Well, you got to reinvent yourself. You can't stay the same person. You got to change. When the time changes, you got to change. I have changed so many times throughout the past 25 plus years. You got to go with the flow. Even though you may not like the time changes, but you gotta reinvent yourself. Everybody has to reinvent theirself. I tell these young guys, this may be the first character, the first version of you until you find yourself, until you find the character that work. Now I can just say this. When I started doing it as the nigga taker, it was an Undertaker parody. Then I started doing it more. Then people would chant Undertaker wannabe, Undertaker wannabe. But they don't do that anymore because I won them over. Undertaker comes out with a hat and a coat. I don't come out with a hat and a coat. I come out with a shovel. The Undertaker says, rest in peace. I say, no, souls matter.
That's
As
awesome.
far as promos go, I can be very, very entertaining. I have a Freddy Krueger sense of humor when I cut my promos. Some people, or should I say the fans, they all love to hear the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker talk. And sometimes when I'm at shows and if I don't grab the mic, they would definitely chant, give him the mic, give him the mic. And all I gotta do is say something very, very simple. There was one wrestler, an African-American wrestler, that I took on. And I said to him, when you step in the ring with me, your black life will not matter, Trayvon. And the crowd went, oh, that's too soon. That's too soon. And also, I did a casket match on the same day as they laid the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, to rest. And I did a casket match. And once I put my opponent in the casket, I got on the mic and said, hey, say hello to Aretha for me. And the crowd was saying, oh, too soon. There was a wrestler that favored Chris Benoit that I wrestled in XPW named Shah Lawhorn. Or should I say, his style is like Chris Benoit. And my promo was, you may wrestle like Chris Benoit, but when I'm done with you, you're going to be Nancy. So there's all type of things. You never know what I'm going to say. I just go out there, one take, one act. That's all me.
And yeah, that organic approach to promos, that's what's missing in a lot of the big companies. That's what makes wrestling interesting. Going out there without somebody telling you say this, say that, just giving you a mic and going for it. So that's definitely major plus for your approach to performing. Pyrrhus is asking again, which I was going to ask you as well about if and when, or if you had any interest in going to WWE. Do you have an opponent that you would want to face from Raw or SmackDown or NXT? And we're talking currently that you would consider a good matchup. This fan is saying Uncle Howdy. Makes sense.
Uncle Howdy, somebody wants me to follow the Buzzards. Well, the Wyatts, deranged, spooky. I am horrifying. If that was to happen, there will not be any type of Sister Abigail placed on me. It will be a choke slam, a jumping choke slam that's going to be placed on him. But I will look forward to any type of challenge if I was in World Wrestling Entertainment. That's the place everybody wants to be. If I'm there, cool. If not, I have made a name for myself on the indie circuit where I left a mark where a lot of people will definitely remember me.
Oh yeah, without question. But in terms of, you touched on it a little bit earlier about, how wrestlers have to reinvent themselves and continue to progress. But I think it's a really interesting snapshot, your career time frame. You started off at the Indies when, there was it was difficult to make a go of it, and you've seen the progression over the last number of years to where the Indies are really thriving. What is your perspective on that, and what do you think the future holds for independent wrestling, considering the big companies are cutting down a lot on house shows?
I can say this. A lot of indie shows that I've been going on, they've been doing extremely well. A lot of people who have never been to an indie show, and once they hear about an indie show, they get hooked because indie shows are more interactive, where you can actually meet the wrestlers. You don't have to go to a mall and wait in line if you want to meet a WWE superstar. These wrestlers, especially me, I do take the time out and talk to everybody that approaches me. I sign every autograph that I can sign, and I appreciate everybody that comes up to me and support me. But the Indies is thriving. Its business is good. We had dark days, you know, but now with pro wrestling being hot, hotter than it's ever been, there's shows like everywhere. You can see shows outside. You can see shows at festivals. If you've never ever been to an indie show, and for your audience that's watching and listening, bring somebody, bring a friend that loves professional wrestling to come to a show, check it out, get hooked, because a lot of people would rather go to an indie show than a WWE show or a TNA or an AEW. Support all wrestling, should I say. Me, I don't bash any type of wrestling company because we are all fans of it first. We just want to sit back and enjoy the product. Try not to criticize it. Just sit back and enjoy it. I don't care when people say AEW is better than WWE, WWE is better than AEW. They're all doing the same thing, trying to entertain you, the fans. Because without you, the fans, there is no us. There's no business. to go to. There's nowhere where we can make money doing things that we love. So I'm so happy with the independent circuit. And you never know, you might see the guys that got released from WWE that still want to thrive. They go back to their beginnings. They go back to the indie circuit. And they will tell you that they love the indie circuit because when you're in those major companies, you got so many rules and guidelines that you have to follow. But once you're an independent wrestler, you have all the freedom in the world to make yourself better. Matt Cardona, when he was Zack Ryder, very popular. Once he got let go, went to the indie circuit, made a name for himself. Cody Rhodes, for an example, he left. He went to the indie circuit, made a name for himself, got a bunch of his friends, sold out an arena with nothing but indie guys and a few superstars. And now that promotion is called AEW now. So I am happy for the success for all the companies because I have friends that work with all three major companies and beyond.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Spitting some wisdom there. Ash is asking again if the Undertaker character got backlash due to the provocative overtones of the name and the character, rather than the character itself. And was the debut match canceled after public backlash? So clearly, the name itself can uh, evoke controversy. Was that your experience when you first debuted?
I think I know what he's talking about. It was a
Okay.
show years ago where I told the ring announcer that when he announced me, he said, the Soultaker. And I said, that is not my name. This match will not start until you say my name. And he was wondering, what did he do wrong? And I said, the name is the Nigga Taker. And by him being a ring announcer, by him being Caucasian, he felt very, very uncomfortable saying that because, hey,
Yeah.
that's how it went. And the crowd, the audience was in total shock. I am about shocking people, pushing the envelope where people are going to go home and say, hey, did you see or did you hear? I went to this show and it was this big black wrestler calling himself the Nigga Taker. The next thing you know, the promoter pops for it, which happens to be white, Caucasian, and he happened to put, hey, he says, Taker, when are you available for another show? I want to bring you back in. And I gave him the date, and he put the flyer together. Weeks later, it says, the Nigga Taker on the flyer.
Oops.
So, and what I understand, it was a poster going around the town, barbershops, gas stations, with that on there.
Oh
And
my.
people was wondering when they read it, they see the big NIGGA Taker on there. That's going to get people attention. And they saying, hey, is this for real? Is this some type of joke? Nah. But the show was canceled, not due to the name. The show was canceled due to other reasons. But I can just say this: earlier this year, I ran across that same ring announcer when I wrestled in West Virginia. His name is Hank Hudson. And I did the same thing to him because he never got a chance to say it at the time and everything, because he did not want to get canceled or backlash. So if you look on the Instagram, you got to find it. Evil Soultaker on Instagram. Before my match, I was with Hank Hudson. And I said, hey, Hank, you've been knowing me for a long, long time. You know the correct pronunciation of my name. And he said, yeah, it's Soultaker. Then I looked at the crowd and I said, no, it's the nigga taker. And I said, don't be afraid to say it because Trump is the president. And he got on the microphone and said, he is the nigga taker. And the crowd went
insane.
They fought for it. But a lot of people don't feel comfortable saying it. So I just say, call me the hard R superstar.
That's a great great t-shirt. I hope the ring announcer got a little something extra in his envelope that night for putting him through that stress. That I got to check out on Instagram for sure. A fan on social media asked if there was any opponent that you could face, past, present, not necessarily active now, but a dream opponent. Who would that be if you could narrow it down to one again?
Mark Calloway, the Undertaker. I think similar styles, different attitudes. I think that will be something because he is a inspiration. When it comes to dark characters, he's the king of that. He had to do some studying of himself on how he wanted his character to be, from being the mortician version of him, because that setup he does, you know where he got that from. He got it from Michael Myers, Halloween 1978, when he set up. So a lot of characters can be inspired from television, movies, and some superstars and some wrestlers around, they can use some of those characters and make it their own. Some people will get it and some people will not get it. Like my style, yes, I do have just a little bit of Undertaker characteristics, but I am not the Undertaker. It is the Soultaker. And the original Soultaker is none other than the Godfather himself. Because everybody, when they search Soultaker the wrestler, who comes up? He does. And I do. And the shows I've been on, he acknowledged that. He told me that Undertaker have seen some of my work. Do I have proof of that? No. But I'm sure he has, especially when I was in a viral video with cocaine that got over 10 million views through different platforms. that made me even bigger, because when that match was put together in JCW, I told Cocaine that once we are in the ring together, the crowd is going to eat it up, because it's going to remind them of Kane and The Undertaker. So there you have it. Viral moment. Fans eat it up. They like things that's tributes. Everybody is going, that's pop culture icons, is going to have some type of person that's paying homage and tribute to them. Like Elvis Presley, you're going to always see Elvis impersonators. You're always going to see your Macho Man impersonators, your Hulk Hogan impersonators. You're always going to see some type of impersonator. You see Jay Lethal as Black Machismo. He paying tribute to one of his favorite wrestlers growing up, Randy Savage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's out there. And should I say, is I'm a tribute to The Undertaker? Half of me is and half of me is not, because I am my own person. You know, I'm not going to be as popular as him. But right now, I think I'm doing a pretty good damn job of it.
Hell yeah. John is asking, when your career is over, would you be interested in doing a book, memoir, or I guess that could be extended to some kind of autobiographical documentary, and any sort of um, capturing your career, reminiscing.
You never know what the future may hold. I may not be done with the business. I think after the in-ring career is over, I can still have some type of impact with the future ladies and gentlemen of the business. So you never know. I could be backstage helping out as well with up and coming talent. But you never know. It could be that memoir. I'm sure that person will buy the book. It can be the life and career of the nigga taker, aka
Yeah,
Soultaker.
I see value in that for sure. This has been the most unique interview I've done in all my years, and I want to thank you for your time. But I want to you kind of touched on it there just a second ago. I want to ask you, given the fact that you've been in the trenches for so long, you've developed one hell of a successful drawing traction character. You're everything from soup to nuts. I think you're a really good guy to give advice, and you probably do backstage. You also, talked about talking to the young people backstage. What advice would you give them if they wanted to break in to the business based on your particular journey and all the highs and lows that you've no doubt experienced?
Well, when I started in the business, we had to send tapes, VCR tapes, to the promoters. Some promoters will take a look at it. Some promoters will just throw it in the garbage. Or if there is something on that tape that they like, if they like the idea of the character that wrestler is playing, they'll say, "Oh, this is a great character. I'm gonna get somebody else to play that character."
Mm.
Next thing you know, that person who sent that tape say, "Hey, that guy took my idea, but it's whoever gets on TV first to do it. That's how it goes. Like for example, when me and Cocaine collided, and that was a 6-man scramble match. The original guy who played the Cocaine character contacted me and say that he was Cocaine. But my thing is, that night when me and Cocaine did it, that was a JCW pay-per-view, which lots of people happen to watch. So whoever is on a national spotlight and they see it first, it officially becomes theirs. That's how it is in this business. If you get on TV with it first, it's basically yours, should I say. But yeah, but I would tell these young men and young ladies, wrestling can be good to you. Sometimes when you work independent shows, a lot of people thinking, hey, they're going to get this amount of money and all this. It doesn't work like that. You got to put a lot of money into it. It's like when you want to start a business, or should I say, you want to fix a house up that was in ruins. You got to put a lot of money into that property to make it a profit from it. You know, same thing like the wrestling business. You're paying all that money to go to wrestling school. Then once you graduate, you got to go buy your gear. You got to go get everything. Some shows you may not even get paid. You know, you're hoping that you're going to have a good turnout so everybody can eat and have some good money. So, but now with the power of social media and you're doing good, all the opportunities in the world is right there through social media, different times. If it wasn't for social media, I don't think people would have heard of me. But times have changed, and I happen to be in that time where everything's falling into place. And another thing, if you're going to get into the business, make sure you have something to fall back on. You know, because a lot of people may not survive. You know, you can have 2 or 3 matches, then you're hurt after that. Your career is over from that. So just make sure you have a great entertaining match. Take your time in the ring. Don't rush. Less is more. And that's what I tell people, that less is more. You don't have to do all that crazy stuff just to get a reaction out of the crowd. A few things that I've done, I can just stand there and look at somebody and I can have the crowd say, this is awesome. There's moments where that's going to come. But anybody that's coming up in the business, just have that backup plan on how you're going to be when you get into this business.
Yeah, that's definitely sage advice. Well, Soultaker, where can you be found on all the socials? And now is an opportunity to let the fans know where they can, of course, keep up on you otherwise, and anything you have upcoming shows or appearances or whatever that the fans need to know.
Well, this weekend, or should I say starting tomorrow, I will be at the IWR Insane Wrestling Revolution in Monroe, Michigan for the Insane Rumble, where 30 men will compete. 29 other guys will look into the eyes of the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker. Last year, I made my debut in the Insane Rumble, and I eliminated the most wrestlers in the IWR's Insane Rumble. I made history. And once I was announced that I was going to be in it, more fans showed up and say, hey, I want to see what Soultaker's going to do. The last two men in that Rumble will fight in a insane rules match where anything goes. And the winner of that match can go on to take on any champion in the IWR of his choosing, whether it's the world champion, tag team champion, U.S. champion, it doesn't matter. Then Friday, I will be in Leamington, Ontario, Canada for NCG as I seek revenge on Alex Lynch, who interfered in my casket match against Giant Orion. Then Sunday is my home promotion of Insane, or should I say, Extreme Intense Championship Wrestling, XICW, where I take on a second generation wrestler in RC3. His soul has no chance. Then this Sunday, it's Pro Wrestling All-Stars, where I will be defending my Pro Wrestling All-Stars heavyweight championship against the winner of the tournament that's taking place Friday through Sunday. You can also find me on Cameo if you want a personal video, a promo, birthday wish, racist promo from me, whatever the case may be. Look me up on Cameo under the Soultaker / Nigga Taker. You can also find me Instagram, Evil Soultaker, and there is a link on there that has the Facebook links where you can find all the material of the Demon of Fear, the Soultaker. And just remember, when you deal with the Soultaker, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. No souls matter.
Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Cheap Heat Productions. Don't forget to hit the notification button and you won't miss any of our upcoming interviews, recurring programs, or entertainment products.